Man, you guys are not ready for this comic. You guys are not ready for this. And the ending is gonna blow your minds, right? Okay, so this is X-Men Red as part of the Fall of X event, although it is kind of separate. So what we might do is we might create a playlist exclusively for X-Men Red, so it'll be very easy to get caught up on everything that's going on here. So at the end of this video, if you find yourself feeling lost, make sure you click the link to that playlist and you'll get caught up. So what this does is this basically continues the civil war on Mars. That's one thing to remember. That's what's going on with Fall of X. On Earth, Orchis is attacking the traditional X-Men groups and mutants that exist on Earth. But on Mars, you had a subsect of mutants here, right? That just lived here for a period of time, but they're all basically being eradicated, right? There's a whole history behind it. And again, you'll find out about that in the playlist. But the long and short is that war has come to the doorstep of those mutants that found residency on Mars, at least those surviving mutants. And the reason why I say surviving is because in the last video that we did, you guys called it, right? Because what happens here is this picks up with Sazaya of the Smoke. She's basically a mutant that has the same powers as Nightcrawler, and where they're supposed to be evacuating because the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse, right? These 4 Omega level mutants whose powers I will explain as we get to this video, they're the ones leading this charge against any and all mutants that exist on Mars. Wipe them all out, take the planet over. That's it, right? That's their motivation here. What Sazaya says as Kobach, right? Her teammate is trying to get her out of there. She's like, no, we can't leave yet. There's something that I have to do, right? Something that Robert DaCosta, Sunspot, locked away for safekeeping. Right after Judgment Day, Aurora Storm entrusted the Night Seats to keep an ultimate weapon, the Uranos trigger. You guys called it, man. You guys called it. Because in the videos that we were doing, I'm gonna start referencing the comments for like predictions on what comes next, right? What you guys had predicted is that somewhere along the line in this war, they're gonna bring in Uranos. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what that means, this guy is like a demon, right? I mean, this dude is, this dude's a hoss. This guy would probably crush Thanos, to be honest with you guys. I mean, it wouldn't even be close. So here's the deal with Uranos. In a comic book event that happened recently that we did cover called Judgment Day, which was basically the Avengers, the Eternals, and the X-Men all going to war against each other, the Eternals had launched an attack against the mutant population by releasing Uranos. And Uranos is just this ridiculously old Eternal who literally controls just all these different arms and armaments, ships, the whole 9 yards. But this guy is just the living embodiment of death. When they released him on Mars, within the span of, I'm pretty sure it was 1 hour, he eradicated 98 to 99% of the entirety of the planet's population, which included guys like Magneto. This dude was next level overpowered. So at the end of that event, what ended up happening is that a peace treaty was brokered between the Eternals and the X-Men. And as part of this peace treaty, the mutant population was given the Uranos trigger so that if some kind of an event transpired where they needed assistance, they could activate the trigger and Uranos would intervene for 1 hour. And that's kind of where they're at right now. Right now, he talks to like Sazaya because she's not the one with the authority to make the decision. But what you do end up doing is switching over to the Four Horsemen launching their attack. Now, these guys are ridiculously overpowered. All 4 of them are Omega level mutants, right? And here's what their powers are. So Death has the ability to remove his helmet and look upon anybody. And when that happens, that person will die. The only way that doesn't happen is if he looks upon like a reflective image, but he can't be killed by his own power. So if you were to put a mirror up to his face, his powers would deflect, but it wouldn't actually kill him. Now, War has the ability to force things to spontaneously combust. Basically, the ability to not only control fire, but also to make fire, which is not something that you normally see when it comes to pyrokinesis. Famine is a hydrokinetic, meaning Famine controls water. But the reason why Famine is an Omega level mutant here is because there's no limit to how they can control water, and they can actually pull the water out of human beings and out of any sentient beings' bodies. So literally just turn them to dust. And then of course, Pestilence fires these arrows that basically force a person to succumb to illness, disease, even die. And what they're doing here is they're laying waste to this entirety, right? The home base of where these remaining mutants on Mars are residing, which include Storm. And Storm is the one who's been like leading the charge against this army, right? A field commander, leader, general, whatever you want to call her. And what she does is she says, "Thank you, Famine. Today you showed me who you are, and you showed what mercy to you brings. Even a second of it, there will be no more." Because these guys, these Four Horsemen, they're just killing everybody, right? There's no mercy to be found here. If you run up to one of them begging for your life, they're gonna kill you, right? Like that's just the way that it is. And so she literally takes this dude out on the spot, just like that, right? Then you have War, who steps in and says, "No, there will not," right? "Who are you to challenge us, Weather Witch? You are the spawn of the powerless. We are the children of Arako's greatest power," Arako being the dimension that they come from, "the kings and queens of this world. We are the true Omegas, and we know our worth." And Storm comes back, dude, she claps back with the best line that I've ever heard, right? She was like, "When the Annihilation Helm took Genesis, you did not side with your mother, you sided with the Helm. So I know your worth, and battle between Omega level mutants has never been a matter of power, little flame. It's all about versatility." This girl snaps her fingers and says, "Girl, you better come strong," right? She's like, "I am the weather. I am pressure and temperature. I am wind, and I am whirlwind. I am many things, War. You are one thing. You are fire. What are you when the fire leaves?" She literally uses the power of wind and pressure to just siphon the power out of this girl, right? Just take her out on the spot. That just needs to be stated here. In the span of about a minute and a half, Storm took out 2 Omega level mutants, which is no small feat. These are mutants with a level of power that dwarfs virtually anybody else around them. And I gotta tell you, man, I love what Al Ewing is doing with Storm, because for the first time in a long time, it feels like she's overpowered, right? Then Death steps in, and that's where things start to get scary, because this guy is not to be trifled with. Death is not a guy to be messed with. But here's the kicker about him, right? Because of the power that he has, he doesn't just like run in, take off his helmet and just show it to everybody and just kill everybody in existence. This guy's all about pomp and circumstance, right? This guy is all about the honor of the battle. And that's why he challenges Storm to one-on-one combat. Now, this is one of the things that makes him so interesting, but deadly at the same time, because it's like the Dallas Cowboys playing against any team in the NFL. They're gonna lose. That's just how it is. And so when you have Death showing up to you and challenging you, your death is pretty much guaranteed. The kicker about this is Pestilence steps in, and Pestilence fires an arrow at Storm. Now, in that moment, Richard Rider Nova, who's just kind of been working alongside the mutant population on Mars for quite some time, he's kind of like their liaison to spacefaring alien empires that exist out there. This guy jumps in the way and he's hit with the arrow and starts succumbing to Pestilence. Now at that moment, Storm steps in to try to like touch him and try to like get him out of there, right, to fly him away. And Death says, "No, do not touch him. If you touch him, the plague will spread to you and it will kill you," right? And then at that point, he turns on his sister. Now that's the thing about Death. He's not doing this because he's just like has the hots for Storm. I mean, he does, right? And let's be honest with ourselves, man. Who wouldn't, right? If Storm was a real person, yeah, man, she'd have like 10 million followers on Instagram with a whole bunch of bikini pics. But the thing about this is he is all about the honor of it. That's what matters to him the most. And Pestilence betrayed that honor. Pestilence betrayed what they stand for. Honorable combat, having an honorable challenge against somebody else. And so he removes his helmet and she succumbs to his power and literally just disintegrates. And that's the fate that would have awaited Storm, right? There would have been nothing she could have done to stop it. And so in this moment, right, this brief reprieve, that's when you have Caesaya who shows up. And Caesaya gives Storm the Uranos trigger. And she says, "Here, you take it. You're the one with the authority to make the decision on what we do. I'm tired of listening to this." And that's when Uranos starts talking to Storm, and he says, "We meet again, Aurora Monroe. I've been watching your situation, so I won't preamble. It is as I told Ceziah. Release me, and within my hour of freedom, I will end your war by ending every single life on this planet that is not of your faction. The trigger is in your hands. The choice is yours. Choose." Now, if she chooses, it would be exactly as Uranos says. He will show up here. Everybody who's not on the side of Storm will die. That's just the way it's going to be. Here's the kicker to this. Ladies and gentlemen, we switch over to the Autumn Lands, once home to the Autumn Palace on Mars. And the Krakoan Gate opens up. And as we know, the Krakoan Gates allow individuals to travel from other dimensions into any other location where a gate is active. A voice simply asks the question, "Here?" And then this person says, "Dead, lifeless rock, but with a sun caged below it, imprisoned, abandoned, a useful ingredient, and with the storm coming to meet us, for where else can she turn? Yes, here. Here we will remake the world." Ladies and gentlemen, the real apocalypse has returned. Not the one that we saw, the projection that we saw in the Immortal X-Men comic that we recently covered. This is the real apocalypse. And the question's gotta be asked, ladies and gentlemen. What happens, because you know it's gonna happen, what happens when Apocalypse fights Uranos? I can't wait until that comic comes out. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. If you need to get caught up on X-Men Red, make sure you click this link to the playlist, and I will catch you all later. Peace.